Happy Sunday, March 20th, studentloanjustice.org live stream. My name is Alan Collins. We are the oldest and largest true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. So glad you found us. What took you so long? Spread the word about this group among your friends, peers, and others. We are the oldest, largest, I already said that, oldest, largest, pretty much only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. So there's a lot going on right now, ladies and gentlemen. Two things we're fighting for, if you're new. Number one, we're fighting for the return of standard constitutional bankruptcy protections to all student loans, both federal, private, and even the hybrid student loans. There's no good reason for bankruptcy to have been taken away. And it turns out that bankruptcy lies at the core of everything. In other words, we're not going to get meaningful student loan cancellation unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Second thing we're fighting for is that second thing I just said, loan cancellation. We are fighting to push the president to cancel all 100% of all federally owned student loans by executive order, not by Congress, by executive order. He can do this by his own authority. He doesn't need congressional approval. He doesn't need to pass a bill through Congress. He doesn't need to draw any money. Not one thin dime is needed from the federal treasury to cancel these loans. And not one penny is added to the national debt when he does this, and he will. So we're glad that you found us. We're getting very close. So much going on right now. I'm going to keep tonight fairly short. If you have any comments or questions, throw them out. And if I can see you on Facebook or on Twitter, I will very happily respond to your comments. So if I can see them, which is sometimes a thing. So yeah, guys, our bill S2598, it's getting close. It is in committee right now. It's being marked up as we speak. S2598 will return at long last bankruptcy protections to federal student loans. This is very important. The most important policy point I'm going to say tonight, and I'd love to be challenged on this if you have any comments that you want to throw up. We're not, and I said it already, we're not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation until we get the threat, the leverage that the threat of bankruptcy provides to us as it exists for all other types of loans. Right now, in the current politics, the most we're going to get is this up to $50,000 loan cancellation from Joe Biden. And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're thrilled that the concept is even being talked about. You know, our group started the petition way back in March 2020, and we were the first media report to even discuss the concept of canceling loans by executive order, which can be done without one dime from the Treasury or adding one penny to the debt. We're thrilled that the concept is being talked about, but up to $50,000 is tricky. That's a weasel word. It's a trick. It's a joke. And we are the punchline. Up to $50,000 could mean anything. It could mean nothing. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that if the student loan swamp, the Department of Education, the unelected bureaucrats, other contractors out there, if they have their way, up to $50,000 will mean almost nothing for almost everyone. That's the way the Department of Education and its contractors, the swamp, that's the way they've always rolled. That's the way they're rolling now. And that's the way they will always roll. You know, 99% of all the people who've tried for an alphabet soup of loan cancellation gimmicks trotted out over the past 30 years, have found out the hard way that no, you're not getting your loans canceled. You're getting like $3,000 or you're getting like $8,000 or you're getting nothing because you earn too much. You get nothing because your loans were in default. 99% of the people trying for those got kicked out and they were left owing far more than had they never tried in the first place. We can't be fooled again, ladies and gentlemen. We can't let ourselves fall into that trap again. And the one thing that's going to prevent that from happening is getting the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. So important. I cannot tell you. If you have any, as I said, if you have any questions, comments, throw them out. So the most important action thing I'm going to say tonight is if you want to help You will start by going to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and do a month worth of our daily actions. They're quick. It's like Twitter stuff mostly. It's a little bit of email, some phone calls, but it's very quick. Most of our daily actions take literally seconds to do. And we've got well over 1 million people on our various platforms right now. So we've got a massive, massive muscle to flex. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is meaningless until and unless you step up and make it happen. And the best thing that anyone can do right now is do that. Go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, do a month worth of our daily actions. You can probably do a whole month in like 15 minutes. And as I said, it will help. We have a huge muscle to flex. And you can't sit there. We've been around for 17 years, guys. And the one thing I've learned is that when you sit there, you wait and you watch and you worry and you read Forbes magazine, Forbes articles and others, and you expect that somebody else is going to pull your weight for you and you do nothing good happens. These are your loans. This is your livelihood at stake. The people at Forbes are swamp creatures. The swamp would like nothing more than for you to sit there and eat popcorn and wait and watch and worry and hope. That's not going to get it done, guys. We need your real effort on this. So right now, guys, there's a little battle that came up over the weekend. It's a company called SoFi. They are a private student loan consolidation company. They make their money by snapping up the most successful federal student loan borrowers and refinancing their loans into private loans. It's a very dirty company, folks. And normally I don't go out of my way to attack private banks, but SoFi is different because SoFi, if you go to a bank and you borrow $100,000 and you pay off your federal student loans and then you pay off that bank loan, that's one thing. Because a standard bank loan has all the consumer protections, bankruptcy protections, statutes of limitations, other protections, truth in lending laws, state usury laws, you name it, fair debt collection practice laws. SoFi is different. SoFi went out of their way, and I don't know how they did this, but somehow they managed to legally describe their loans as educational loans. They're not. They're consolidation loans. So I don't know how they did that, but they did that. They went out of their way to do that so that they could skirt the bankruptcy laws, so they could enjoy the very unique and vicious and predatory exemption to bankruptcy that the student loan industry enjoys. So, and again, there's quite a few companies out there that do that, and I'm not going to mention any names, but SoFi is among them. The thing that really brought SoFi into our target sites this weekend is that SoFi, in addition to some others like College Avenue, Student Loans, and some other people, they are now lobbying very, very, very hard to get the president to turn the loans back on. You know, refinancing your student loans out of the federal program was a pretty smart thing to do a few years ago, and a lot of people did it. But that's not looking very smart anymore because we have huge changes coming, including, and if we do our job right, full and total federal student loan cancellation. Private loans cannot be canceled by executive order. Private loans are going to be very difficult, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you have private loans, there's one good bill to fight for right now. That is HR 4907 that will return bankruptcy protections to private student loans. Extremely important for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. But private loans are tough. They can't be canceled administratively. And a lot of people who were suckered into these loans by people like Dave Ramsey, who's the biggest snake and charlatan in the student loan universe, almost. He's top 3 for sure. They are now, a lot of those people are now stuck, and they're stuck with loans that cannot be discharged in bankruptcy, which is just ridiculous on its face in the first place. So SoFi is going out of their way to push the president to turn the lending system back on. Shame on them. This company spent $400 million to name a football stadium near San Diego, California. Actually, Southern California, Los Angeles. And here they are browbeating the president to turn the loans back on, not because they want to help anything, but because they got to have those loans turned back on in order to steal the most financially worthy or something borrowers out of the federal program. That's what they do. That's how they make their money. Shame on those people. What gives me even more pause is that the group that is representing SoFi, FinTech, it is being led by Mr. Gary Reeder, Garryreeder. Mr. Reeder used to be the chief of staff to Mr. Richard Cordray, who at that time ran the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and did a fairly good job. But now Mr. Cordray runs the federal lending program. He is, I believe, the COO of the Federal Student Aid Office. So he runs the federal lending program. And we are counting on Richard Cordray to live up to his words and stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. But guys, I'm just going to say, I was really disturbed, not only to see that his former chief of staff now works for the very same private banks that the CFPB was in charge of overseeing and in many cases suing. Like it was an oppositional thing. And now Mr. Gary Reeder has completely turned coat and now works for them. And the most disturbing thing about that whole thing is that Richard Cordray applauded Mr. Reeder's move to head this FinTech consortium of private student loan companies and others. So, guys, I'm really worried. I thought and hoped and expected and had every reason to believe that Richard Cordray was a good guy. He's a smart guy. He has said all the right things. He didn't do a bang-up job at CFPB, but he certainly wasn't terrible. And Elizabeth Warren certainly vouched for him. So, anyways, I'm worried. And if you're watching us on Twitter, scroll down and look at all the tweets that we did addressing this issue and retweet the mess out of them, if you would, please. This is particularly important. We really need to put the pressure on Mr. Cordray and others in the Department of Education to make sure that they stand by us and do right by us and don't kowtow and cave in to the banks. So, hey, we've got quite a few comments here. I'm going to see, hopefully I can get through most or all of them. Hey, Lisa Unsell says, Alan, follow the money. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's a big multi-armed octopus is the money. I could go on forever and ever about where all the money goes, but yeah, no, we do follow the money. In fact, we've broken some of the most interesting stories about student loan corruption, particularly with members of Congress and their family members over the years. But you're right. When you follow the money, it's pretty interesting what you can turn up. It's getting more and more difficult over the years, though, I have to say. The bad guys in Washington, D.C. have found ever more swift and camouflaged way to pass money around that the public has a very increasingly difficult time tracking. Hey, Denise Peralt says, when consolidation was a thing, my friend tried to talk me into it. Thankfully, my gut said no. A lot of people in that very same, a lot of people fell into that trap, Denise. And it certainly was not a trap at the time. When I would meet people that said, yeah, the federal program is just, I couldn't understand it. It was just baffling me, bamboozling me. Something smelled wrong. So I consolidated with a private lender. At the time, a couple of years ago, I said, well, on balance, that probably was a pretty good decision because the federal program is just corrupted and Byzantine and broken and disgusting. Now, however, that's looking like pretty bad advice. Like Dave Ramsey, that son of a bitch, pardon my French, he's been hawking private consolidation student loans for years now. He's been making money off of this racket. And Dave Ramsey is dead set against student loan cancellation for no other reason that he set his followers up for a fail. And he's going to be looking really, really, really bad when they cancel the loans. And they will, by the way. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, the numbers are huge. The lending system has catastrophically failed. Okay, catastrophically. 1.7 trillion, 45.4 million borrowers. Before the pandemic, 80% of all borrowers were underwater. That's 36 million people who were never going to be able to repay their federal student loans, even before the pandemic. 36 million. That's probably closer to 40 million now. It's hard to say. But again, before the pandemic, 64.3% of all borrowers were not paying on their loans. So that's almost 2/3 of all borrowers were not paying on their loans. Yeah, some of them were in school, but even if you take them out, it's 57% were not paying on their loans. Some of them were technically in repayment, but they were making $0 payments. So guys, what do I need? I mean, the default rate for federal student loans, even before the pandemic, it was going to be 65, 70, 75, 80%. That's only gone up. You know, the default for subprime home mortgages, by comparison, was 20%. So we're, we already know the class of 2004 had a default rate of 40%. They were only borrowing a third of what's being borrowed today. Guys, the lending system's done. The loans will be canceled. They will be. So everybody who took their loans out of the federal program is, they should, and if people like Dave Ramsey told them to do it, they should be very angry with people like Dave Ramsey and companies like SoFi who try so hard to make that happen. Lisa Amsel says Ramsey is on SoFi's payroll. I don't know if that's true, Lisa, but that's a very interesting claim. I'd like to look more deeply into that. Lisa also says, if you have anything there, I'd like to see it. Lisa also says, Alan, do you want to talk about the revolving door in the swamp? Oh, Lisa, how much time do we have? I want to keep this live stream short tonight. But let me just tell you one story. The revolving door between Wall Street and the Department of Education, it goes both ways. If you look at the Department of Education Office of Federal Student Aid, like half or more of those people came from lending companies like Sallie Mae and Navient and FIA and other places. But I'll give you two quick stories. So the one guy in Congress, and this is kind of hard to prove at this point. We're hoping that we can find the person most responsible. But my strong suspicion is that the guy in Congress most responsible for getting bankruptcy taken away from federal student loans with no time limit, like immortally, in 1998 is a guy named Buck McKeon. The worst pound for pound student loan company on earth is called the Education Credit Management Corporation, ECMC. ECMC makes its living destroying borrowers in bankruptcy court. I know a guy, Paul, in California, who estimates that ECMC spent $250,000 to defeat his $5,000 bankruptcy claim in court. So ECMC is a dirty, dirty, vicious, vicious company. And a nonprofit, by the way, which is even more disgusting. They throw a bunch of money around NPR and the ECMC Foundation, helping students succeed. No. That's not what ECMC does. ECMC destroys student loan borrowers. So an interesting thing, I was looking at ECMC's financials a few months ago, and I found that on their executive staff, one of their directors is a guy named James something McKeon. And I looked at his photo, and he is the spitting image of Buck McKeon. I haven't been able to actually prove that it's his son yet, but yeah, I'm 99.99% sure it's his son. You know, John Boehner, another very bad guy from years past, he got his daughter, Trisha, a job at one of the worst student loan collection companies in the nation, which was acquired by Sallie Mae, over a game of golf. Like, I could go on and on and on and talk about the revolving door between government and the banks. The Department of Education is a captured agency, ladies and gentlemen. I hate talking about the government. That's one of the toughest things about this job. Nobody wants to fight against our government, certainly not me. I'm sure the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Department of Defense and the Department of Commerce and the Department of the Treasury and others, not Treasury. I'm sure they do a swell job by the people. They haven't lost sight of their public mission. But the Department of Education, ladies and gentlemen, is a captured, corrupted agency. It just is, not to be trusted. And if you look at the people running the show there, particularly on student loans, yeah, you see a who's who of these snakes. The Hansen family, on and on and on. I could go on. I will leave it there. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to hear that Ramsey is on SoFi's payroll. I know that Ramsey has some sort of a relationship with a company called Splash Financial, where he has stamped the Ramsey brand onto their loans. Dave Ramsey is disgusting. So unfortunately, guys, I am running out of my ability to see comments because Facebook is funny that way. If I can see comments on Twitter, I will gladly respond to them. It's going to be a big week, guys. We need your help. We need your help badly. Our bill is being marked up right now, S2598, as we speak. It lies at the core of everything. I am going to post a report that we published, actually 2 reports that we published over the past 3 days. One report shows how most student loan borrowers are Republican or independent. That's very important. We need to be pushing conservatives. If you have a conservative senator in your state or 2, you need to push as hard as you possibly can for the next month or maybe more, as hard as you can to get that senator or senators to co-sponsor and push S2598. It is just so important. So doing our daily actions is the best way to start doing that. We're going to ask everybody on our group, all millions or plus 1.2 or 3 million people. We're going to ask everybody to call their senators this week. We have such a huge muscle to flex, ladies and gentlemen. I would hope that you would make a resolution to devote the next 2 months of your life, every spare moment that you can possibly think of, to helping us push this bill. It's a pretty direct line between getting the leverage that bankruptcy provides back and seeing actual, meaningful, widespread, maybe even total federal student loan cancellation. So important. We're not going to see meaningful cancellation until that happens. It's just not going to happen. If everybody on our petition, everybody in our groups, everybody on all our other platforms, if they were to call both of their senators, whether they're D's or R's, but especially if they're R's, if they were to call both of their senators next week, we would probably shut the switchboards of every Senate office down. Like, we would blow up the phone banks of all the Senate offices. 1 million people is a lot. So I'm asking you personally, will you please make a commitment to, number 1, do a month worth of our daily actions, studentloanjustice.org. Number 2, call both of your senators this week. And even if you say one sentence, co-sponsor and support S2598, if that's all you say, that's fine. So you can do that in like 13 seconds. You can even leave a message. You don't even have to talk to a human. But I would prefer if you can talk to a human, it's far better, but whatever. 2 things, guys, daily actions and that. Maybe the last thing I'm going to say tonight, if I don't see any more comments, is right now, I would like you to do this very, very incredibly quick action. And that is, on your phone, text right there. Sign PSQVFQ to 50409. It's our resist bot. It helps. It's fun. It's easy. It's quick. It does help. Do that. Like 1,500 people have, but honestly, guys, we should have hundreds of thousands of people on this thing. So please make it happen. Be the change you want to see. As crazy as it may sound, the country needs you. As unlikely as it may seem, there are tens of millions of people depending on us, and hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps And this is the most scary thing I'm going to say tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If they can do to other loans what they did to student loans by taking bankruptcy away, we could be looking at a slave nation in 20 or 30 years, 10, maybe 10, 20 years, who knows? The bad guys in Washington would love to turn this into a slave state. That's why the bankruptcy laws are so important. I'm already hearing murmurs about them wanting to take or putting these similar impossible barriers to bankruptcy on medical debt. So this is the camel's nose under the tent, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very historically important, nationally important. It's an important fight. And I'm proud to be fighting it. You should be too. And we're winning, finally. For the first time in 17 years, I can see light at the end of the tunnel. I can see this. I can see these loans finally getting handled, possibly / probably entirely canceled. This is the worst mistake domestically that I can think of except for maybe prohibition. Some people, I don't know, people have their own thoughts on prohibition, but we make huge policy mistakes in this country domestically from time to time. This is a big one. This is right up there with, I don't know, you name your favorite U.S. national domestic policy mistake in history going back 300 years. And this one is top, I'm going to say 3 for sure. Very important battle, ladies and gentlemen. And this group is the only group that's fighting it truly. I mean, I can't point to any other group that's fighting of any size anyways, that's fighting for the return of bankruptcy protections, for example. I don't know why. It's kind of spooky, but this group is it. And I would say briefly, shame on the other student loan advocates, activists out there. They should know better. They should have looked at this problem carefully and closely enough to know that we are not going to see meaningful bankruptcy, student loan. We're not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation until and unless we get the threat, the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side. Think about it this way. They're probably going to turn this lending system back on. Maybe it'll be May 1st. I don't know. But whenever they do that, would you rather face that reality without the threat of bankruptcy on your side? Would you rather face that bankruptcy naked and afraid and vulnerable to the student loan collection mafia so they can wreck your life and garnish your wages and maybe even get you fired from your job, all that stuff? Do you want to face it that way? Or would you rather face that reality forthcoming, at least with the toothpick of power in your back pocket that the leverage of bankruptcy provides? I think you want that second thing. I think you want the threat of bankruptcy in your back pocket. We're going to see a mass default, guys. That's inevitable. There's no question. I'm supremely confident that is true. We've got to prepare. We've got to be ready. And this is your battle. And this is your fight. We need you. So take heart. I am more confident and optimistic now than I will ever be. Than I have ever been in 17 years. Not more than I will ever be. I suspect next week I'm going to be even more confident and optimistic than I am this week. This next week is hugely important, ladies and gentlemen. I can't tell you why exactly. I can't say it. I can't say. This week is important. It's probably the most important week in the history of this organization. So please take that seriously. Hey, I see a couple more comments here. Vanji says, I saw tweets today by backing through the SoFi Anthony. She's talking about Anthony Nato, the CEO of SoFi. His comments into who had been making the anti-comments on plans go no bankruptcy on other debts could be fake but worth looking at. I'm not sure what you just said, Vanji. I read them, but I'm having a hard time. But yeah, we've been mixing it up with Anthony Nato, the CEO of Twitter, very strongly on Twitter. And check it out, and you can see the conversation for yourself. That guy needs to be taken down by a couple notches. That's one of the things we're really good at, is taking people down and out. And Anthony Nato made the very bad strategic mistake of trying to get the government to turn the lending system back on. Shame on him. Shame on SoFi. Lisa has said that we should demand that they change the name of SoFi Stadium to something else. And I agree with that. SoFi ought to be ashamed of itself. They are a bunch of prima donnas, and they're only looking out for their private for-profit interests. Denise says, both my senator's interns do not return calls. Doesn't matter, Denise. They read this stuff. Contact your senators. Even if the junior staffers in the offices blow you off, don't worry about it. Hit them hard. Hit the local media in your state if you want to. That's another very good way to get through to senators. Calling them directly is very important. It's the first best thing you can do. Getting the media to report on like student loan debt levels in your state, which I guarantee you are outrageous. And if you surf around on our Medium platform, you can see what student loan debt is in your state. And I guarantee you it's extraordinarily high. There's a good chance that it exceeds the entire state budget. So if you go to studentloanjustice.medium.com, student loan justice, all one word, lowercase, studentloanjustice.medium.com, read the most recent 7 of our articles. Give many claps to the most recent article that we published, by the way, and maybe even follow us or however that works on Medium, help out that way. And you will see how bad your state is off on student loan debt. The worst states are states like Georgia, Florida, Texas, North, South Carolina, Tennessee. Connecticut is very bad. California is terrible. Ohio, Alabama, did I say? Missouri, Maryland, Virginia, South Dakota, New Hampshire, Nevada, terrible. Student loan debt in nearly all the states I just mentioned exceeds the entire state budget. Georgia is the worst state, by the way. The state budget of Georgia is $48 billion. The people of Georgia owe $82 billion in student loan debt, most of it federal. There's nothing conservative about that. There's nothing MAGA about that. Republicans should be on our side. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone longer than I want to tonight, but I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a great week. And we're counting on you to help us this week. We're counting on you. We need you. No one's going to pull your weight for you. We need your effort. This is a very real battle, and you're in it, whether you want to be or not. I know we're all reluctant warriors here. We're all accidental activists, including myself. But you have been thrown into this fire, and you need to fight this battle with us because your livelihood hangs in the balance. So help us. It's getting better. We're finally winning. Let's make this the best week ever for student loan justice, guys. We're so close. Spread the word about this group. If you don't, nobody else is going to. Tell all your friends and family, everybody you know with student loans, about us. We need them. Join your state chapter. I think I've said enough. So I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for all your great comments. See you tomorrow. Ed will be back on Tuesday. Good luck. Make something happen. Godspeed. God bless everybody. Oh, there's a kitty in my drawer. What's this? What is this? I just found a kitty in my drawer. Where did the kitty come from? Okay, guys. Have a great week. Bye.